On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, powered by BetUS, are big changes and a fire sale at the deadline not to be expected and not happening anytime soon? One Dolphins insider seems to think that's the case. We will talk about all of that. Plus, McDaniel was asked about his post-game conversation with Stephen Ross. So, we got to cover that, considering last week we knew Ross was in that office after the loss to the Colts. So we'll talk about all of that. Plus, we'll look over PFF grades, some next-gen stats, and so much more. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going up for the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through right now for today's show. A little therapy Monday, because Jesus, Lord knows we need a therapy session after that debacle yesterday. I wanted to, comment on something Pro Special said. He's always in the chat here. I don't know if he's here right now, but he's always in the chat here. He always, tunes in. He's a big supporter of the channel. We follow each other on Twitter. And, he said something very interesting, and truthful. He said, man, watching games with you guys really gets me through these awful, awful, awful outcomes. And I agree with him. 110%. If I was sitting on my couch alone, not having all y'all to interact with, man, it would be being isolated and depressed. Ouch. You know what I mean? Ouch. But speaking of that, shout out to everyone who's in the chat. He was here earlier. Pro Special was the first one in here earlier, so shout out to Pro Special. Omar Brown, Mudbone, Scorpion King 271, AZ Fanatic. Brother, AZ Fanatic, huh? Please tell me you're not having to live in Arizona and deal with losing to the Cardinals, because that sucks. But he said no changes because there's no accountability on his team. Coaster Nostra, Jason Keck, South Florida Don, Chuck Fins Up, Jim McEwen, James Steele, Robert Thomason. I see all of y'all up in here. TE, Ball God 230. Shout out to Ollie, Samuel Rosa, Chris Lemons. Who else we got in here? Elpad, Andy Jackson, Goat, Jeff Premont, John Featherland, Daniel Barry, Hal 9000, TC on Sticks. He's been an interim head coach. Detroit Dawn, Phenomenal Pod, EMT 242, Justin, Chase One, M Cord. Shout out to all of you, Dolphins man Jared, all of you coming through and showing some love today on this Monday, this dark Monday. It's Dark Monday. How are we at week 8 and it already feels like we're having Black Mondays, huh? Really? Shout out to Knight in the chat too. So I got a couple things I want to talk to before we get into this. First of all, let's dead this narrative. I told y'all yesterday, and I was keeping it objective, and I automatically get called a to a near, or whatever the case. What up, GGB Chronicles? Listen, you can say what you want about the safety. Was the safety brutal? Yes. Did the safety help? No. Was that a bad play by Tua? Yeah. I'm not going to be one of those. I see people on X trying to absolve Tua of any blame on the fumble. I'm not here to do that because, listen, was it high? Was it wobbly? Was the snap hard? All three, 110%. You got to handle it, though, bro. It was like right here. You got to handle it, man. You have to. I'm sorry. So that's what I'm going to say that. Number one. Okay. Number two. Come on, guys. I see people out here trying to fully throw it on the shoulders. Yesterday's loss of Tua Tagovailoa. Who are we lying to right now? I got literally. Let me put things into perspective for you. I did it yesterday in the post-game show. I'll do it for you again. That defense allowed 7 points and 135 yards in the first half. They allowed 20 points. Okay, 254 yards in the second half. They allowed 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns. Arizona to score on 4 of 5 drives in the second half. You want me to do you one better? Let's break down the 254 yards they allowed even further. They allowed 218 yards in the last 3 drives alone. On the last 3 drives of the game, that defense allowed more yards and more points. Great, because they allowed 17 points and 218 yards on the last 3 drives. They allowed more points and more yards on the last 3 drives alone than they did in the first half and the first 3 quarters. Guys, we had them to 2nd and 15. 1st and 20, then we gave up 5. We had them to 2nd and 15, and you give up an 18-yard completion over the middle of the field for 18 yards to Marvin Harrison, who had been cooking you all day? Come on, man. I got to be objective. I got to be consistent. I lamented and dragged Josh Boyer, and I still do to this day, for allowing, what was that, the 3rd and 17 completion against the Bills in 2022 in that game we should have won in December. I believe it was 3rd and 17. Come on, man. I ain't trying to hear it. Listen, I've been a defender of Cam Smith from basically what I saw on tape. Other than the one play, he wasn't a problem for us. But that one play cost us 7. Totally losing his assignment. And Michael Wilson just wide open in the back of the end zone. You shutting down Connor all day. Then all of a sudden you give him his biggest run of the day on the final drive when you need to be the stoutest you've been all day. And don't give me the bullshit that they were winded. Because Arizona's defense was on the field longer. Like, listen, Tua's safety did not help the situation. But what's the bigger difference in the scoreboard? 2 points? Or 20 points in the second half? What impacts the outcome more? 2 points or 20 points allowed? Come on. Give me a break. And this goes all the way up to the coaching staff. Listen, I've been a big Weaver guy this whole year. I've had no problems with Weaver. Brother, you're getting cooked on the blitz. Why did you not stop? Murray was making us look silly on the blitz. He was either evading the pressure and making the throw, or evading the pressure and and scrambling out, making a run. Either way, he cooked us on the blitz. Absolutely destroyed us. Shout out to Dante Collinelli. He had a great little post about the blitz today. Because I told you that this was an issue. The Miami Dolphins blitzed 13 times yesterday. It was the second most of the season. They blitzed 15 times against the Colts. Against Murray versus the blitz yesterday, a .18 EPA per drop back, 0 sacks, a 61.5 completion percentage, 116 yards, and 7 passing first downs. You want to know why that number matters? And this is me adding on to Dante's post, because that's the end of Dante's post. You know why this 7 matters? I'll let you take a wild guess why that 7 matters. Remember, 7 allowed passing first downs to Kyler Murray yesterday when he was blitzed because he kept doing it. You know why it matters, ladies and gentlemen? Because they were also 7 for 13 on third down. Now, I'm not saying all of those completions were third down completions, but you're damn right, about half of them were. Weaver's got issues yesterday. So it's not only on the players, it went up to the coach, and Weaver kept blitzing. Got cooked and did not adapt. Cooked and adapt. And here's the thing. People want to... I'll go even further on the safety for you guys. Even further. Okay. You gave up the safety 2 points. You went ahead and you gave up a touchdown after that. That's on the defense too, by the way. So, Tua doesn't play defense in case people didn't know. They didn't convert the 2-point conversion, so you gave up 8 points. We came right back down and marched down and scored 7 right again. Right again, we came right back down and scored 7 and kept that 9-point lead intact. We came right back down and scored a touchdown. And this whole margin of victory, this safety is the margin of victory. They lost by 1 point. Again, what matters most in the second half? A defense allowing 254 yards, 3 straight drives of 70-plus yards, and that led to 2 touchdowns and really could have led to a 3rd touchdown, but they decided to settle for the field goal and run out the clock on us, or a 2-point safety. The absolute asinine way of thinking of absolving a defense, and I'll do even one better for all the fans trying to blame Tua for the loss and not the defense. The defense blames itself, people. Did you not hear what Emmanuel Ogbah said today? Did you not hear what Emmanuel Ogbah said today? The defense admitted it was them. Emmanuel Ogbah told you, and I quote, like this is what's hilarious. People will try and tell you that it's the quarterback, just because they can't understand the nuances of football or anything else behind it. Go look at what Emmanuel Ogbah said today. Go look at what Emmanuel Ogbah said today. Emmanuel Ogbah said, and I quote, the defense, he said, the defense, and I quote, shit down their leg. That's exactly what Emmanuel Ogbah said. That this defense shit down their leg. That's an exact quote. Go read the article Omar Kelly put out today. The title, Tide Turns on Dolphins Defense, which let victory against Cardinals slip away. In that is the exact quote. I'll give you the exact quote. We got to this is from Emmanuel Ogbah, and I quote, we got to make a play for our offense. It's not good enough. We finally got that spark on offense, and we shit down our leg. That's exactly what that's exactly what Emmanuel Ogbah said. One of the longest tenured Miami Dolphins on this team. Oh, but they don't want to talk about Jonnu Smith dropping a key third down, right? We don't punt on that drive if Jonnu Smith doesn't drop that third down pass. Wide open. Waddle's multiple drops. It's got to be all on Tua. Tua's the reason they dropped the ball, bro. What do you mean? So, these people who don't know what they're talking about, and they're just so eager to blame one singular person. Clearly, they've never played a team sport in their life. But, yeah, the defense as a unit let you down. That's like Emmanuel Ogbah. And I quote, we finally got that spark on offense and we shit down our leg. I got the defense taking accountability. Y'all want Greer and y'all want McDaniel to be held accountable by the front office. You got players themselves taking accountability, but let's dismiss that because it doesn't fit our narrative and what we're saying. Again, I've caught these people contradicting their own narratives and being hypocritical. They want McDaniel and Greer held accountable by the front office, but when players start taking accountability, they don't want to hear it. Figure that one out. And who's our Jabroni of the week? All of us. Jabroni of the week is easy. All of us Dolphin fans who thought they'd win this week. That's it. That's us taking accountability, huh? See? That's me taking accountability for the fan base right there. All of us who thought, yeah, hey, Brian, guess what? We're all jabronis for believing in this team this week. I don't know what else to tell you, bro. We got to take accountability ourselves. We all are, brother. Join the club. Anyone who thought we'd win this week, you are a jabroni. And that includes me. I predicted them to win. Richmond's a jabroni. Ballgame's a jabroni. We're all jabronis. I don't know what else to say. Brother, right there with you. Since February 85, I've been on that jabroni train, brother. Since The Rock was a kid watching his dad wrestle, and Iron Sheik was the one using jabroni. That's it. And, another thing I wanted to talk to, Mike McDaniel finally addressed the Jalen Wright stuff today. He was asked about Jalen Wright today. There's a couple things from his press conference I wanted to address, actually. But he addressed, first of all, he addressed Bradley Chubb. He called Bradley Chubb's injury ACL plus. Are you kidding me right now? This man just said Bradley Chubb's injury was ACL plus. And he said they knew he wouldn't be back by this point. Oh, man. I already told all y'all I didn't think when Bradley Chubb would come back from an ACL that he would be back to normal this year. You probably wouldn't see that till next year. And ACL plus? Oh, my God. Oh, sorry, brother. Hey, I know the Chiefs added Josh Uche today. You got to go look at the edge market because you ain't going to be able to rely on Bradley Chubb. I don't know what else to tell you right now. ACL plus? Oh, my God. And when's he going to be back? He's back by week 12, and this team's, 4-7? Why bother? Why bother? Just keep rehabbing, and then cut him in the offseason and free that money up. Seriously. Yeah, we got Chop, though. Hey, listen. Chop was better yesterday than he was the week before. I'll say that. He had a couple pressures. He got held again. He's drawn a lot of holes over the last couple weeks. No, and hey, at least Chop's done something for me with pressures. What is everyone, all this preseason people told me that Quentin Bell was the answer, and Quentin Bell was the most underrated player on this team, and Quentin Bell was going to make all these plays. At least, hey, Chop has tackle for losses, high pressure rate, and I've watched with my own eyes him forcing completions. What the hell has Quentin Bell given me this year after all this preseason hype? I asked the same question about players like Tanner Connor. They can't even get on the field. And when they do, it's special teams and that's it. Oh, why is Tanner Connor on this roster? Why are you carrying 4 tight ends? You really dropped Tanner Connor for Chris Brooks, but then, hey, if you would have had Chris Brooks, would you even have used him? You tell me Mo Kamara has a great game last week. He did. Mo Kamara was one of the few guys getting pressure last week against the Colts. What do? Throw him back to the bench. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But let's get into Wright, too. Tony Rizzi says, I've been a Jabroni for 40 years. Hey, I'm going on there, brother. I'm about to catch up to you. Knight says, Chop got robbed of a sack. He sacked Kyler. They called it a run. Bullshit. It was in the tackle box. There you go, too. That's a good point. And last 2 weeks, this week and last week, he's been held by tackles where he probably would have got a sack. Last week, he was held by Braden Smith. I haven't gone back and watched the All-22, but I remember the play vividly yesterday where he got held. So I'll put it in the All-22 review for sure. Jalen Wright. This is what he said about Jalen Wright. He was asked about Jalen Wright, and and again, I mean, they're scratching Mo Kamara, who had he had the only 2 pressures the Dolphins had outside of any linebackers, by the outside linebackers against the Colts, and yet was a healthy scratch against Arizona. I don't get some of the coaching here, but anyways, Jalen Wright was asked about Jalen Wright, and he gave the whole thing, right? Like, Jalen Wright has exhibited a lot of things that are connected to why we drafted him. He continues to prove just like Mo. They're important pieces. All the coach speak, man. I mean, here's the fact, brother. All right, Jalen Wright. I've nailed how this guy was going to go with the running back room to the T. I said before Moser came back, I said, you watch. Moser's going to come back healthy. All of a sudden, we're going to start running the ball. Sure as shit. What happens? Moser comes back. We start running the ball. All right? Jalen Wright continues to look like the best bell cow option. Although Achane was really good yesterday. Over 150 yards from the line of scrimmage, I believe. When he was 140... I don't know, he had 90 yards. He had like 140 some odd yards from the line of scrimmage, just under 150 from the line of scrimmage yesterday. But I digress. A-Chance looked good. But Moser, yesterday, Moser has 5, at the point Moser had 5 carries. He had -1 yards. At that same point, Jalen Wright's got 2 carries for 18 yards. And what's most impressive about Jalen Wright, and we'll show the clips when I do the film breakdown this week again, this guy keeps turning nothing into something. We saw it last week. Ran to the right side. Didn't like what he saw. Cut back to the left. Took it up the middle. Gained a nice chunk of yardage. The big run he had last week. The big scamper he had. Look at, I kept replaying the hole he fit through for a man of his size. How skinny he made him. The vision to see the hole. This guy is displaying high-level vision. He's explosive in and out of his cuts. He's explosive in open space. He's an absolute handful for a defense to try and break down. but we're not giving the guy more opportunities. Are we serious right now? And then I got to listen to McDaniel go up there today. Well, the game plan was initially to have him more involved, and it was trending that way, but blah, 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 but blah, blah, blah. That's exactly what he said. It was trending that way for him to be involved as much as they want him to be. But this happened and that happened, and he blamed how many drives they had. All this coach speak that I don't want to hear anymore. Brother, it's not hard. You do it with guys when they're coming up in Pee-wee, and you should still be doing it in the NFL. What are you talking about, reason? Coaches rewarding players for their play. What are you rewarding them with? You can't hand out a contract, so you give them more play time. I'm going to tell you this right now. Mostert does not have the vision or the creativity to see some of the run, to make some of the runs we've seen the past couple weeks from Jalen Wright. That's a fact. I don't care what anyone tries to tell you. My graphic guy, my good friend, shout out to Joey at FinHub. Go follow them if you haven't. We were talking this morning. We talk every Monday after a loss. That's what it's been, or a win, whatever. And he made a good point. You need to ride Achane, and you need to ride Wright from the 20 to the 20. If you want to have Mostert in the inside the 10, inside the red zone, sniping touchdowns, do it, because Mostert does have a nose for the end zone when he gets inside the red zone. I will give him credit there. But brother, you got to be riding these kids. Pause. That's what you got to be doing. And it's ridiculous that this guy doesn't see this. It's mind-boggling. Like, I don't get it, man. You've got the young blood. You traded up for Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright was on my man crush list, just like Achane was. Both of them are hits. You did the same thing with Achane last year. Remember, they did the same with Achane. They reined him in. Why are we doing this? Let the young bucks roll. Let the young bulls in the glass china shop, baby. That's what you got to be doing. Like, this is basic fundamental coaching stuff. You reward players based off their play. Why does Julian Hill continually screw up and he keeps getting these opportunities? But Jalen Wright keeps flashing greatness. We'll hold off on that. What are you waiting for, brother? The time is now. It's now or never. Jalen Wright's going to do two great things for you. He's going to eat up yards, and he's going to eat up the clock. But no, what happened? This is where I've been telling you I've been spot on with the whole run thing. With how the whole run game was going to work. I told y'all he would start running the ball when Raheem came back. His boy comes back, there we go. Because it's country club stuff where everyone's got to be buddies. Buddy comes back, there you go. Then he runs the way he runs against the Patriots. I said, this is a great step in the right direction. Let's see if he continues it. Continues it against the Colts, but still finds a way to mess it up with his personnel usage. I.e., Ingold getting the ball after fumbles. Mostert getting the ball after fumbles when Jalen Wright's just screaming more touches, more touches, more touches. But no, let's ignore that. Still finds a way to screw it up with the play calling and the personnel usage. Then this week, what happens? I said, okay, he screwed up the personnel usage. He screwed up the play calling at times, but at least he kept sticking to the run. Now the key is, when Tua comes back, is he going to stick with the run? And I said, he's going to become pass happy. I got a feeling he's going to be pulling that trigger because his boy's back. Sure enough, Tua comes back, and what do we do? What do we do? If you include his rushes, You dropped back Tua 49 times. You gave Wright, Mostert, and Achane 21 carries between the three of them. "42 times you dropped back Tua. And you were winning until the last drive, so it's not like we were trailing and we had to. I just... I don't get it, man. I just don't get it, man. Make it make sense. This video today is sponsored by BetUS. Go over to betus.com right now. This is the line for Monday Night Football tonight. You can still go get your bets in before the game starts tonight. Go use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by 150% up to $2,000. Some of the quickest payouts in the industry. 24/7 customer service. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Like I always say when the Dolphins lose, what's the best coping mechanism? Sure, your family and everything, but you can go make a little money on the side off of BetUS. So there you go. So let's get into it today. Let's talk about it. Let's start diving into this. Let's get into the reality of the situation here. This was tweeted out last night. And you know Barry talked to people. You know Barry's plugged. Any Dolphins fire sale before Election Day trade deadline would shock me. The GM who wants to keep his job isn't admitting failure or making the roster worse to hurt his chance of keeping job. They can blame things on injuries or tough luck or global warming or whatever else, I guess. And he's right. There will be no fire sale. Now, would we want Greer making trades for us right now? I know a lot of people consider him a dead man walking. Do you want a dead man walking handling your assets, even if it's trading guys out? And this is the problem. He's not going to admit his failure. We've seen that with Eichenberg. That perfect example. He's not going to admit his failure. And he's also not going to make this roster worse. Like, that's why people who want to tank, it's not happening. Unless you get a change at GM and a mandate from Ross to the new person, it's not happening. Barry nailed it on the head. He is not going to put himself in a position where the roster gets worse, the win-loss record gets even worse, because then he'll be out of a job no matter what. And you guys saw Omar come up here when I had him on the show a few weeks ago. He doesn't think Greer's going to get fired because he's going to use the excuse, well, we lost Tua. Well, that excuse don't fly with me, because y'all should have had a contingency plan in place, and y'all were framing it like Skylar Thompson was legitimately won that backup quarterback position. So, y'all put your chips right in on Mike White as your backup, and then you took those chips out and put the chips all in Skylar Thompson, and your 3 years of sweat equity and coaching equity invested in him. And here we are. And I agree with Brian in the chat. I think you need more of a retool than a rebuild. I think you've got a lot of key good pieces here. I think you need a retool with a rebuild. I agree with that statement 110%. And here's the thing. I do think something's going to happen if they lose this week, though, badly. If they lose badly to the Bills this week, if they get embarrassed, I think something happens. Now, if something doesn't happen, the interesting thing will be the Rams game, because that Rams game is in prime time. If you get your ass handed to you by the Bills and then you go and put up a dud on prime time, see, I think we're getting into territory here where something's about to happen. And listen, I get it. Stop hiring first-time rookie coaches. I can't knock that, though. Look at what LaFleur is doing over in Green Bay. Look what Kyle Shanahan's done. Look what McVay's done. I can't get down with that. There's plenty of examples of good first-time head coaches. And all the ones I just named are from the same tree. Like, that's what's even worse. I just named 3 coaches that popped off and have either, 2 of them have been to the Super Bowl, one of them multiple times, 2 of them multiple times, and one of them's won it. And they're all from the same tree. And McDaniel was the one Shanahan was protecting. Remember, we wanted to interview McDaniel as the OC the year before when we ended up with Godsey and Stootsville, and they blocked us. They promoted McDaniel and gave him a new title to block us. They were actually protecting McDaniel from us. That was the one guy Shanahan wanted to protect. He let McVay and LaFleur walk, no problem. He let Slovic walk and follow, what's his face to Texas, to Houston, sorry. DeMeco Ryans. Right? He's let people walk, no problem. McDaniel was the only one he blocked. The curse of the Tequesta continues. Let me tell you, friends. And, I don't know if big changes, I think changes are going to, like I was told before the Titans loss, that if this is a bad situation and we're losing, handedly heading into that Packers game and we get embarrassed in the Packers game, that you could see changes by then. I think that timeline's been moved up. Remember, now, will they do it in season is the real question. When they fired Flores, they had already made the decision up top in October to fire Flores. The decision was already made during the 1-7 start. We just didn't find out until after the season. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. But we're getting into territory where it could happen any game. That's why. I honestly think if they get blown out this weekend, I just don't see there's a. What's your excuse? Your quarterback's back. Yeah, sure. You just lost a competitive. You just lost a competitive game to the Cardinals, but the Cardinals right now are a mid-level team. They're not a top of the pack team right now. And then you face a top of the pack team and you get blown out. I don't think it's happening this week. They wouldn't have let him out in front of the media today. Honestly, I'm not even lying to you. When I joined this community and people told me the media was against us and they treat us differently, I thought they were full of what. And as time has gone on, I've actually changed my mind and I now agree with that assessment. Brother, I'm starting to really believe this is the truth, eh? I'm not even lying. Come on, man. Nothing goes our way. Nothing goes our way. Ever. It's crazy. Anyways, so this is what Adam Beasley said. He said Stephen Ross should detonate Miami Dolphins roster with a Week 9 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Hope is nearly gone. Soon it'll be time for change for the Miami Dolphins. Even a strong performance Sunday from Tagovailoa in his return from IR. He graded out as a B in PFN's proprietary QB plus metric. Wasn't enough for the Dolphins Sunday. Their offense might have shown improvement, but the defense is to blame after a second straight blown 10-point lead. See, everyone knows it's the defense. These people are just trying to blame Tua. You got even the media. A lot of these guys who don't even like Tua are even saying, yeah, the defense. But now the defense is to blame after a second straight blown 10-point lead. This time in a 28-27 loss to the very mediocre Arizona Cardinals. So as a season with the highest of expectations reaches its tipping point, the Dolphins should consider the future. If they lose to the first place Bills next Sunday in Orchard Park, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross should triage the season and hold a fire sale ahead of the November 5th trade deadline. No veterans should be off limits except for perhaps Tua, who probably isn't tradable based on his contract and concussion history. But Teron Armstead, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, and Raheem Mostert all should be among those available made available by the Dolphins via trade. To be clear, we're not saying the Dolphins should give any of those very good players away, but this nucleus is pretty clear is not going to win a Super Bowl. Better for Ross to recognize and act on that now while their value is the highest. The Dolphins could get a number of premium picks for their star players who probably would jump at the opportunity to join a team in contention. The haul, combined with the tens of millions of freed up cap space, would allow the Dolphins a chance to transition to a brighter future. And if the Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel and general manager Chris Greer balk at the reset, Ross should overrule them by any means necessary. McDaniel and his players, of course, aren't thinking in those terms right now. They still think they can turn things around and have pretty good talking point in the team's 2021 season. There's always time, Tagovailoa said, of turning the season around. 17 games, that's a long time, a lot of games. So whether we're counted out or not, doesn't matter. We're going to continue to play football. A lot of people in here know that in 2021 we started out 1-7. We didn't have half the guys that we have, and no disrespect to my other teammates, but I'm talking about the talent that we have here. We didn't even have half the talent however many years ago. So to give the group respect, we won the next 7 games, and I'm not saying we're going to do that or whatnot, but it's possible. Anything's possible, so we're going to continue to trust each other, lean on each other, believe in each other, and we're going to go do it next week. That's a competitor speaking. Here's a realist speaking. The Dolphins are one of the worst teams in football. They'd have a top 10 pick in April's draft if the season ended today. They should act accordingly. After losses in 5 of their last 6 games, the Dolphins at 2-5 were the AFC's 11th seed entering Week 8 4 p.m. window. And while they're technically within 2 games of the number 7 seed, they're about to play the hardest game of the season to date. Next week is their annual road game at Buffalo, who have won 8 straight games versus the Dolphins at Highmark Stadium dating back to 2017. It's a significant challenge, McDaniel said, of facing the Bills at 2-5. I think the biggest thing is you have to understand that all the heartbreak has to go into your next opponent. Listen, he said you have to take your best game and try to win one football game. And I think that's a really cool football place to play, and guys, and I think we have the right guys, et cetera, et cetera. If they cannot, their season will effectively end Sunday with 2 months to go. In that case, they should cut their losses, free up space, load up on picks, not waste another season to get off their best aging players. Now, here's the thing. I would not expect a reset. And I'll tell you exactly why. Stephen Ross is the reason why. Stephen Ross is 84 years old. Do you think this man is about to go into another 5-year rebuild that could take him to 89? No, this is why in the chat they were talking about a retool. All right? So that's not going to happen. Now, I say that to say this. That's why I don't think they're going to trade a guy like Tyreek Hill. I don't. I think they're going to keep that. I don't think they're going to strip the cupboards bare, especially if you're drafting a contingency plan who may become your starter sooner or later, whether that's by injury or just winning out the job. Terron Armstead, that would make sense. Calais Campbell, because he wants to retire anyways next year. Calais Campbell, he's on a 1-year deal. He wants to play for winter. That would make sense. Raheem Mostert, you have Achane and Wright. That would make sense. And you're going to move off to those guys next year anyways. But I don't see guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like, I don't see pieces like that being traded. I just don't. I see a retool coming, not a rebuild. And the reason why, Ross is 84 years old. That's just a fact. I don't think Ramsey is for sale either. Because they're going to try and retool in this offseason and try and keep the window open. So I don't think Ramsey's for sale. I really don't. I'm just being honest. And Omar Kelly had a pretty good piece. He said, at what point is staying the course counterproductive for the Dolphins? You want someone to be mad at? You need somebody to be offered as a sacrifice to the football gods for your pain and suffering. You desire a valid reason why the Dolphins are yet again a bottom feeder in the NFL, courtesy of this 2-5 start. The biggest opponent we have to overcome is ourselves each and every week, said Mike McDaniel on Monday. You plead for someone to tell you everything is going to be okay, even though it hasn't been for 2 decades with this franchise. We covet the reassurance that the Dolphins aren't lost again, somewhere in the wilderness hoping to be rescued, but there's nobody who can be trusted to do so. In fact, we're inching closer to the survival portion of this journey, where it's every man for himself. Everybody has to play better, said Tyreek Hill. At the end of the day, it's got to mean something to you. It's got to. Tagovailoa's back, and so is the scoring, but the losses keep stacking up. This time it's a defense that buckled to the pressure of a red-hot Kyler Murray, who led the Cardinals to 2 scoring drives in the fourth quarter. And the way this Dolphins season has been going, it will probably be something else next week. Next Sunday, the Buffalo Bills have a chance to put a nail in Miami's coffin, providing a death blow to the goal the Dolphins had about dethroning Buffalo, winning the franchise's first AFC East division title since 2008. That's 16 years ago, and even that achievement was watered down because Tom Brady sustained a season-ending knee injury in the New England Patriots opener that year. So that means South Florida's NFL franchise, which hasn't won a playoff game since 2000, hasn't been relevant, not for winning in 2 decades. But this year was supposed to be different. However, all the season has done is remind us all that forward progress Miami made under Mike McDaniel was fool's gold. It was shiny bling that looked nice when shown off in front of company, but it produced a rash that over-the-counter medicine can't cure. The franchise needs a doctor, a healer, someone who can be trusted to build a solid foundation like what Bill Parcells did when he took over in 2007 when Miami hired the wrong man, Cam Cameron, over Mike Tomlin and led it to a 1-15 season. That season was the first time I learned what a dysfunctional football team looked and felt like. It laid the foundation for how toxicity unhealthy franchises operate. This isn't that. The 2024 Dolphins are a team that lost its Pro Bowl quarterback and Pro Bowl tailback for the first month of the season and struggled to score points as a result. Then they lost 2 backup quarterbacks and the offense grinded to a halt. Sunday's restart with Tagovailoa at the helm was encouraging, but far from the solution to this season's problems. Keep in mind, these Dolphins are a forced fumble and a smaller foot size from being winless this season. That hints they should be fortunate that this dismal record isn't worse. But they're still fight with the Dolphins team because they know that they have been better than they have shown, better than they have played thus far, which means there's still signs of life. Problem is, we need to get to the root of what the real issue is. These struggles aren't about the Dolphins' offseason decision to not retain Andrew Van Ginkel or Brandon Jones, or Miami's unwillingness to sign Christian Wilkins or Robert Hunt to $100 million contracts, or the team's selection of Chop Robinson in the first round, or its choice not to upgrade the offensive line with a quality veteran. It isn't about signing an injured OBJ or the choice that was made to ride with Skylar Thompson as backup quarterback. Miami's issues are on the field execution, penalty-prone performances, and coaches and players falling short of meeting expectations. General Manager Chris Greer might be the scapegoat who eventually pays for all the losses, but it has been the people on the field who are letting this franchise down. It's Tagovailoa throwing 3 interceptions in the early loss to the Bills. It's Mostert and Alec Ingold's 2 costly fumbles in this month's loss to the Colts and its defensive collapse to the Cardinals. The minute that changes, maybe the trajectory of the season changes. Winning and losing becomes a habit, part of your culture, and this year's team has found a way to lose games, not win them. What they must avoid is feeding into those losses to avoid falling into another "that's so Dolphins" type of season. Stay the course, stay together, Calais Campbell said about what's on horizon for the Dolphins. At the end of the day, nobody's going to come and get us out of this hole. It's just us. Ain't nobody coming to save the day. I mean, he ain't lying. Ain't no one coming to save this day. That's for sure. It is what it is, man. Now, all those things he named that did, like, I do think Robert Jones has hurt this offensive line, but the offensive line wasn't an issue yesterday. I'll agree. Andrew Van Ginkel and Brandon Jones are not the difference of us being a winning team and not a losing team. Either is the Chop Robinson selection. Even though Odell Beckham Jr., that hasn't really, I mean, he's been a ghost, but, you know, at least D. Eskridge caught a ball for a first down yesterday. Now, where I don't agree with Omar is he seems to be absolving Chris Grier of some of this blame as kind of just labeling him as a scapegoat who's going to have to pay for all this. But yeah, listen, it's player execution and roster construction. Who's to blame for not having a better quarterback contingency plan into place? Who's to blame for not having a better offensive line in place? Stop. You know, I mean, come on. And when you look at us losing for 20 years, who's the common denominator that you can sit there and point to? And this is coming from a guy who's defended Grier. I've defended Grier's draft selections. I've defended some of his trades and some of his off seasons. But at the end of the day, the draft selections I've defended, 90% of them are gone because he couldn't retain them. Because like I always harp on him and have harped on him from day one, my biggest issue with him is he never gets out ahead of market value contracts. So he ends up having to be forced to pay a premium or let the player he drafted walk. And most of the time they walk. So I've defended Grier, but no more. All the assets that have been spent financially and draft-wise, it's just not good enough. And, you know, I've said this before, Grier needs to have a set of balls. When you talk about AVG, Weaver comes in here. AVG was a priority. Weaver comes in here, that changes. Because Fangio left. You know? I don't get it. Grier can mandate these guys to have to make something like Eichenberg work or Austin Jackson work. But then, you know, he's soft in keeping certain players. It's really weird. Or soft in, hey, I'm going to make my own decision. You're going to make it work because I know what's needed offensively and defensively. This is what it is. And Chris Grier does have a knack for whether signing or drafting injured talent. Let's be honest with each other. Is what it is. When you look at the PFF grades from this week, here are your highest graded offensive players for the Miami Dolphins. Devon Achane, Aaron Brewer, Robert Jones, Dwayne Eskridge, Terran Armstead, and Jalen Wright were your top 6. Tua Tagovailoa was 9th, and the reason why was because they put that fumble on him. That fumble really dropped his grade. Your worst graded guys are Julian Hill, Durham Smythe, Malik Washington, OBJ, and Alec Ingold. When you look at a passing perspective, Tua Tagovailoa, according to PFF, was 1 for 3 on the deep level. He was 2 for 5 on the middle of the field. On the intermediate level. And man, he was almost a perfect 17 of 18 on the short level. And then behind the line of scrimmage, he was very good as well. He was 8 of 10. When Tua was kept clean on 85% of his dropbacks, he was 25 of 33 for 220 yards. Should have had an adjusted completion percentage of 87.1%. But he had a completion percentage of 75.8 when he was kept clean. When he was under pressure, he was 3 of 5 for 60%. Adjusted completion percentage does not jump. His time to throw when he was kept clean was 2.14 seconds. Under pressure, it was 2.7. His passer rating, NFL passer rating when he was kept clean was 1 of 3.1. It was 64.6 under pressure. So, when you look at from a blocking standpoint, the Dolphins only allowed 2 pressures yesterday. 1 sack to Robert Jones and a pressure allowed by Austin Jackson. When was the last time you saw 2 in the pressure column looking at the Dolphins? Answer me that. Defensively, here were your grades. Kendall Fuller was your top graded guy. Calais Campbell, number 2. Jordan Brooks, number 3. Poyer, number 4. Peely, number 5. I don't know how Marcus May finished at 6. I mean, the guy missed the biggest key tackle on that 3rd and 4 of the game where he could have stopped Kyler Murray, got the offense the ball back, and gave us a chance to score. Neil Farrell, Chop Robinson, Cam Smith, David Long, and Tyus Bowser were your worst graded guys. I don't think Chop was as bad as 30.5. Now, Cam Smith, I got to watch all the tape. David Long was definitely bad. For sure. When you look at the coverage matchups, David Long targeted 8 times, allowed 8 receptions for 93 yards and 4 first downs. Jesus. Cam Smith targeted 5 times, allowed 5 receptions for 63 yards, 3 first down, and that touchdown. Kendall Fuller targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions and 1 first down. He also had a pass breakup. Jalen Ramsey targeted 3 times, allowed 3 receptions for 63 yards, 3 first downs, and a touchdown. Jordan Brooks targeted 3 times, allowed 3 receptions for 21 yards. Jordan Poyer targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for a first down. Javon Holland targeted twice, allowed 2 receptions for 10 yards and 1 first down. Chubb Robinson was targeted once in coverage, allowed 1 reception for 7 yards and a first down to Trey McBride. James Conner, he caught the only target against Tyus Bauer for 7 yards and a first down. Marcus May, he was targeted once, did not allow a reception. So those are your PFF grades for week 8 when you break it all down. Ouch. When you look at the passing charts from this week, Kyler, he was spreading the ball around. He was making, look at all the short throw. He was just killing us, man. Just killing us off the blitz. 26 of 36 for 307, 2 touchdowns, a plus 8.8 completion percentage over expected. Hey man, if you go back, because hey, we were around for Kyler's rookie year. I was a huge Kyler fan. I wanted Kyler bad coming out of college for this team. I'm a huge Kyler guy. Now he hasn't lived up to expectations, but yesterday he was cooking. Yesterday, oh boy, he was cooking. To his passing chart. Not as many deep shots, and when you watch now I know when you watch the film on him, because I did watch. I'll go back and watch the offense again. He was just taking what the defense was giving him, not making mistakes with the football. 28 of 38, 234, touchdown to 0 picks, plus 5.3 completion percentage over expected. He had that one deep toss that he underthrew to Tyreek. So other than that, he really did not test the deep level, and he didn't really test the middle of the field in general. He really kept yesterday's game to his open side, the left side, right? When you look at it. So, impressive stuff from Tua. He was good minus the fumbles. I ain't gonna lie. He was good minus the fumbles. Now, when you look at, and we're going to get into one other thing too after this, but when you look at the in-depth next-gen stats from yesterday, Kyler Murray had the deepest longest completed air distance, 44.8. Tua was 34.7. Marvin Harrison was the fastest ball carrier yesterday. He got up to 20.58. Tyreek got up to 19.29. Fastest sack, Dante Stills had 3.2 seconds. You look at Tua. Again, you can see that there's discrepancies from PFF, and Next Gen's the one you trust because they got chips in the ball. But you look at that, 1 for 2 deep, mid-level, 2 for 6, short level, much better. Whoa, what happened there? Much better on the short level when you break it all down from Tua. I don't know what happened there. From the short level, he was 16 of 18. Behind the line of scrimmage, he was again discrepancies from PFF, but he was 8 of 11. You look at running the football yesterday, Connor killed us off the left side. Not really. He only had 10 attempts for 32 yards. Kyler, but James Conner had the most of his yards come wide left. You look at Achane, he killed it outside off the hips of the tackle. 4 attempts for 69 yards. 1 attempt for 6 yards when he's going inside the A gap and the B gap on the left side. 3 attempts for 9 yards on the A gap and B gap to the right. 2 attempts for 13 yards off the right side. Mostert, not much. Just 4 attempts for 14 yards and a touchdown off the left A and B gap. Other than that, he's pretty much shut down. Receiving, the league average is 2.97 yards in terms of average receiver separation. Eskridge, 4.77 yards. Tyreek Hill, 3.04. Waddle, 3.59. Jonnu, 1.59. Julian Hill, 1.83. On the flip side, Trey McBride, 3.2. Dortch, 1.81. Elijah Higgins, 6.3. Michael Wilson, 3.08. And Marvin Harrison, 1.97. And then the average separation from the quarterback from defensive pass rush standpoint, league average about 4.57 yards. Zavin Collins was 3.96 yards. Stilley was 5.27 yards. Stills was 5.31 yards. And Collier was 5.73 yards. On our side, Chop Robinson had the closest average. He was 4.3 yards, which was under the league average. Everyone else was beyond it, from Benito Jones to Deshaun Hand to Calais Campbell. So Chop Robinson was actually continuously the closest to the quarterback. So, again, the guy can get pressures. The guy can do his thing because, when you look at us defensively yesterday, we had 12 pressures. Chop Robinson had the most pressures of any player yesterday. He had 3. Him and Jordan Brooks had 3 each. So Chop Robinson, that matches up with the tape. Chop Robinson had the most pressures along with Jordan Brooks. So say what you want, but the kid's getting pressure. He's just not finishing them. And it'll come. Charles Harris was never getting pressure like this, people. So those Charles Harris comparisons are just fugazi. All right, McDaniel, he had a post-game conversation with Stephen Ross. This is what went down.
I think you speak a lot. You speak with Stephen Ross after each game. I'm wondering last night that they can share about, his concerns or disappointments or what he has spoken about.
No, he's always. It usually goes like, I right, wrong, or indifferent. The way that I approach the job is, when you feel accountable to all things, he's like every fan and coach. My knee jerk is to apologize for the result, regardless of how the game and my position within it go. And he's very he knows how the people that he's hired that he really believes in, and so he's very supportive. And that was very similar to what last night was. I think he's also supremely competitive, so he doesn't like to lose. But He's kind of, we're definitely aligned in that it's the process and evaluating that, and sometimes results are fleeting and they fall in different arenas. He tries to do everything in his power to facilitate success, so he's disappointed obviously when we don't have it. And then we just communicate about the factualities that are really that I know without looking at the tape. And he was making sure that he's very consistent in making sure that he knows that tough times don't last, tough people do. So it was good to see him after the game, but I don't. I struggle with all parties involved after losses. Just trying to lead by example, and no loss feels like it doesn't start with me.
Tough times don't last, tough people do. Well, I hate to be the one that tells you this, brother, but we are now into 7 games into the season, bro. We're about to hit that halfway mark, bro. I don't know what else to say to you. Like, the tough times are lasting, bro. The tough times keep lasting. And just a bunch of coach speak. That's all that was. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. He doesn't want, he doesn't want to sit here and talk about, I don't get it. He doesn't want to sit here and he doesn't want to talk about the fact that oh my God, I don't get it, man. He's sit here and be straight with us, bro. The guy is not happy. The guy is not happy with you. There's no way he's happy with you. There's just no way. And, you throwing cliches out here isn't going to help the situation. I mean, Brian Baldinger is on Twitter right now tweeting about Devon Achane and basically saying, Devon Achane only got 4 carries in the last 23 minutes. Are you giving him the ball enough? You got people in the media now who are watching the film and saying the same thing we've been, this whole Jalen Wright ain't getting enough touches. That started on Phinside The NFL. I know it's leaked out onto X over the last, people are trying to get likes off of it and clicks off it. But I was the first one vehemently saying, this is wrong. What is going on? You got people in the media now, like a guy like Baldy saying, you're not even giving Devon Achane enough. Wait till you watch the right reps, Baldy. Wait till you watch the right reps, Baldy. You're going to say, never mind, Achane. They're not giving Wright the ball enough either. Unbelievable. Jim says soft teams don't last, tough ones do. Hey, man, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. So, I don't know, man. We all know Ross. If Ross is like the fans and feeling what the fans are, I'd be very worried about my job if I were you, Mike. And if I was Chris Greer, we thought he was hiding in that one picture that goes around of him hiding while he's up in the box. Brother, that guy's probably in a box somewhere trying to stay out of eyesight. Three things he's going to buy 2 a time in the pocket. And then it says maybe the Dolphins should take a page from the Florida Panthers book. Oh, my God, I can only hope. Jeez. Guys, this episode brought to you by BetUS. Go over to BetUS right now. Go use promo code YouTube150. Get your first 3 deposits matched by 150% up to $2,000 for tonight's game. Giants and Steelers on Monday Night Football. Just remember, gamble responsibly. Hey, my God. Hey, got to watch a Dolphins loss, and then your Monday night matchup is that crap show. Oh, my God. Gets worse. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I will be back tomorrow. I appreciate all of y'all. We're in this together. Watch. This team's going to go 7-4 on this stretch. And we'll look back at the Arizona game as our Titans game of 2023 of that's what ended up costing us. You watch. And God help us if they beat the Bills this week and we buy back right in. God help us. Fins up. I'll see y'all on the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.